Welcome back to Stay Tuned. I'm Tony Angelo. This is my YouTube channel. And today we're in sort of our hangar, the overflow shop, and it's got my whole stable full of project cars. I had so many that we couldn't keep them at the main shop anymore. And what was nice is when I got this shop, I immediately bought 2 more cars and crammed them in here too. So there's some stuff you've seen, there's some stuff you probably haven't seen at all, but we're gonna go through them and get pumped for all this content we've got coming up. And maybe shout out in the comments what you like and what you hate and what you can't wait to see and what we should burn and sell and throw down the highway. All right, let's go. Good. Okay, first thing we're gonna talk about is my 1970 Oldsmobile Cutlass. I've been looking for a 69 to 72 Cutlass for a really long time. This is like, to me, one of the most iconic muscle car shapes. All 68 to 72 A bodies are sick. The Skylark, the GTO, Cutlass, Malibu, Chevelle, whatever you want to call them, they're all awesome. It's just a big, bruising, sleek, killer car. And the Oldsmobile is maybe my favorite looking one. And essentially, I traded the S10 high school drag project from HRG that I had bought, which was a first-gen S10, 89, I think. We'd done like a small block with Vortec heads, everything on the cheap, but it was a fast car. It ran awesome. Like a 1280 probably on its best day, little truck. And I traded it straight up for this thing. Now this is a project, but it is a sweet one. Right, so the deal is this car was somebody's long-term project and he passed away unfortunately before he could get it done. His wife sold it to a coworker and that guy traded it to me for an S10. And it's a really solid starting point. It's got I think it's a 73 Rocket 350, Oldsmobile motor in here. It's got probably a turbo 350 behind it. Like, I think with a few days even, we could have this thing moving under its own power, which is pretty cool. And the best part about it is, like I said, it's really close. Nice paint job. It's got very decent interior. It's a console car. Shifter on the floor, it's automatic, obviously. It's got carpet that's pretty damn good. I'm not sure I would assume even these seats have been redone. I'm not sure, or they were just really kept nice. But the car has a ton of potential. It just needs cleaning and the small stuff. Now the small stuff will usually kill you on a car, like grill, trim, these little vents in the hood, bumpers, all that stuff. Except what's nice about this car is that, we latched here. Let's see if we can dig into it. It came with just about everything we would need to get this car going. I'm looking at gauges, I'm talking about headlights, grill, I have the bumper at the other shop in the rafters. Most of the interior is here. There's a factory assembly manual. This was like a car that somebody really cared about. And I feel like we can't just disrespect it and like totally change it. It'd be nice to get this thing up and running, sort of how that dude wanted it. Down the road, maybe we'll make some big changes, but it'd be nice to at least get this thing up and cruising around. The one issue with the paint, you can see the red is really nice. It's got the stripes on it. Is this quarter panel is bubbling out. And it's a bummer because it's really the only imperfection, and I think it's getting worse. So it may be worth, I guess, tearing this paint off, getting in, trying to neutralize any rust that's coming through. You can hear, if you listen. I hate that sound. And fixing it. But essentially, it's a nice car. It just needs us like to throw a bunch of man hours at it. And it's so nice that I would like, do a halfway decent job with it for once. Here we have my 1972 Plymouth Cuda. It looks like a 70 if you've got sharp observer eyes, but it is indeed a 72. The front and the rear end have both been changed. The headlights and the taillight panel have been changed to look like a 70, 71. This is a kick-ass car, sort of. A lot of this stuff is going to come down to the fact that I spent the last few years in California completely neglecting my whole stable of cars, and this thing is no different. This is a car we slapped together for SEMA in 2016. It is a drift/street-style Cuda. It is one of my, if I was a car, I would be a 1970 drift street-style Cuda, right? Like, this is me as a car. The only problem is we made a bunch of compromises to the front suspension when we built it. We slapped it together for SEMA. and it just doesn't work exactly how I want it. Now, it's not exactly far off either. It's got a badass motor. One of the only cars here that would probably start up and do a burnout. So 6.4 Gen 3 Hemi, essentially out of like a 2016, Scat Pack Challenger. So right around 500 horsepower. It's got a T56 Magnum, and it has a Ford 9-inch with a custom 3-link suspension that I hand built. And everything back here works awesome. The front suspension is a train wreck. As the car goes up and down, the bump steer is terrible. And there's a couple ways we can fix that. We can get in here, get wild, hand make a bunch of stuff, or we could probably find some kind of bolt-in solution too. We didn't actually move or remove any of the stock frame, which is nice for us so far because we can still bolt in any kind of stock replacement, stock architecture suspension, and then this thing would be pretty decent. So one of those two is going to happen. And we haven't really gotten so far as to put an interior in this thing. It's still very race car styled. But this one works. We got that going for us. So there's that. This one actually runs. But bad things are, front suspension sucks. We put on these ticky-tacky bushwhacker flares for SEMA. I wanted to do like metal sculpted kick-ass 70s flares. Didn't happen. Also hacked up the metal underneath. These are all Bondo. So like I said, good and bad. Good, Cuda, iconic as hell. Good, 500 horsepower, 6-speed, 9-inch, all good. Bad, front suspension is terrible. There's no wiring in the car, and the front suspension is awful. See that already? Okay, I'm saying it twice. It's the worst, and there's no interior. So anyway, that's the Cuda. I like it. I hate it. Story of my life. All right, here we have a completely failed attempt at buying a cheap, reliable drift car. I bought this as a 1994 328 BMW. It's got a welded diff. It's got a hydraulic handbrake. It's got some race seats. Set up sort of drift style. It was like a kid's first drift car. I bought it. I think I spent $4,000 on it as like, I can go to the track, hop in, and just go rip with my buddies. If you don't know me, I was like a professional drift racer for about 10 years. And it's been a while, but I still love it, and I still want to have a fun, reliable car, except this one turned out not to be it. The steering sucked. That's all right. Yeah, the steering's a little wonky. It's not great. It doesn't, No, it doesn't correct. Yeah, it's really weird. It's not right. But you're the pro. It doesn't help. I mean, sure. Load it up. Yeah, let's load it up. The steering feels like if you watch my best 5 swap cars video from earlier in the month, I got myself hyped up on how cheap RX-8s are. They're awesome handling cars. They take a V8 pretty easily. They're unbelievably cheap, and it's like a way better handling car than anything pretty much in here. It's just a more modern, kick-ass sports car. So, maybe this thing goes away and I do the RX-8. I don't really know. I can't decide quite yet. But if I don't get on to like a reliable drift car and start driving regularly at the track, I'm going to lose my mind. One of the reasons I wanted to be here permanently is to be like back drifting, having fun at the track all the time, driving with my friends. So all my boys at Club Loose, shout out Club Loose. So hopefully we can get there soon. Here's my other attempt at a cheap drift car. We'll come back to these guys. This is a 89 240 SX. This thing is a complete rust bucket, but it has a SR20 DET. That's the Japanese swap engine that everybody wanted in 2005.
Couple Nissan SR20 motors a pull-up premium 1 week before race wars, huh?
It makes 200 horsepower, whatever. It's easily upgradable. They make about 300 horse or so. We never got this thing driving under its own power. Let's come and check it out. So that's it. There she is. There she blows. 200 turbocharged. No, the motor. Look at the motor. There it is. Look at that thing. 200 plus horsepower is right there. Rusty, crusty, nasty horsepower, but horsepower nonetheless. So we could work on this thing or the BMW. I don't really know. I have parts to repair the frame. I have a cage from my boy Chair Slayer. I've got a bunch of GK Tech stuff to put some angle into it. But I just hate touching this car. Every time you touch it, something falls apart. Like, it's just the way, it's just a rusty 240. Do we want to spend a bunch of time on it? I don't know. I feel like every bolt we touch is going to break. Trying to take it apart is going to be a nightmare. But one way or another, we got to get on something. So this thing is cool. I mean, like a properly set up 240SX for drifting is a very kick-ass car. It's no accident that people use these cars forever through like the premier pro leagues into like grassroots. Awesome handling car, just needs a bunch of horsepower. This one's already got a better motor. Should we work on it? Maybe. Do I want to? Absolutely not. I've actually even got an MMP turbocharger upgrade for this thing. I've got a bunch of parts for it, and I feel like maybe it's time, but also maybe not. All right, here we have my 1979 Lotus Esprit S2. This is a tiny hand-built British sports car, supercar, whatever you want to call it. It's mid-engine, 4-cylinder, non-turbo, making about 170 horsepower, but the whole thing weighs like 2,000 pounds. So it's a really cool car. I always wanted one, and I bought this thing. And if you watch back, I spent a bunch of time trying to get it just running and doing anything. Yep, don't crash. I think I'd give it a... Come on. You got that there. As you can see, it's pretty complete. I think I want to try to get this car on the road. It's supposed to be an incredibly, rewarding driving experience. Like, the whole point of this dude, Colin Chapman, was make the car as light as possible. The more lightness you add, the better everything gets, right? So what I want to do is ditch these whack carburetors, get a proper set of Webers on there, refresh the brakes, and sort of drive it down the road and just see what it's like. Nothing crazy at first, just get it down the road. Problem with that, number one, is that it came on these sick BBS, 3-piece mesh, real magnesium wheels. I sent them to my local wheel guy. He was gonna straighten them out, powder coat them and give them back. He found out that a lot of the magnesium centers are cracked. These wheels are impossible to get your hands on. And we're trying to figure out a solution. Do I just get a more modern wheel in the right size, or try to get those things welded? It's magnesium, you could burn a house down. I don't really know how you do that, but that's the deal. You can see I have some front wheel drive Honda wheels on here for now. This is not what the kids call stanced out. This is this is stanced in. That's what that is. It's one of the smallest cars I've ever been in. It's honestly insane in here. You feel like you're in a coffin and they're about to close the lid. That's what this feels like. But in a sports car way. It's wild. My feet are, I wear a size 9 and I'm gonna have to take my shoes. The pedals are nuts. It's so silly. I can cover all 3 pedals very easily with 1 foot. Yeah, I don't really know, there's not a lot of cars where my head is into the ceiling, but this is one of them. And also, this is the most leaned back gangster roll ever. So, it's like a light gangster coffin, just to recap that. Anyway, I love it. I want to drive it. Everything in here looks like it was made by an 8th grade workshop full of delinquents. It's the worst. It's terrible. It's terrible. But I don't care. Look at this. It's like, oh, you want to just randomly wrap vinyl over this vinyl sort of square? Send it out of here. We're good. Anyway, still an awesome car. I'd like to drive it someday, hopefully soon. So I can't uncover this car because it's kind of a secret project that's coming up. But if you look really hard, maybe you can tell what it is. I don't know. I'm always amazed by you guys. This is a car that was it's a car from the 60s. Hasn't really gone down the track since the 80s. It's really full of cool old tech and a couple, like, you know, sweet pieces here and there. It's some guy had me buy it for him. It's, Derek from Vice Grip Garage, something like that. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but apparently we're gonna like get it back together and make it run and drive again at some point. Okay, here we go. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's got a couple people watching him. This is my Pro Drift 2013 Scion FRS. Should you care about that? I hope so, because here's the deal. This is pretty much the fastest car I've ever driven. I've driven some pretty fast stuff at this point, but this thing is nasty. Full race car prep, cage, fully lightened, there's nothing to it. And it has a motor swap in it. It's got a Camry engine, but on super steroids. It's got it's stroked to a 2.55 liter big old Garrett turbo on there. And to make this turbo spool, we cram it full of nitrous. And everything works together to make about 800 and change wheel horsepower in a car that weighs 2,500 pounds. So it is a beast. And what I like about this car is not that I want to take it, you know, I think there's like a couple things to do with it. What I want to do with this car is it's just so burly and so fast and so nasty. Is like, let's take it. There's a couple really cool hill climbs here in Pennsylvania. PA's got a killer hill climb scene. There's the Pagoda and Durea hill climbs later in this year. And I'm thinking about trying to get this thing running and just dial it in for grip and see if we can't, you know, run that race and not kill ourselves. That would be the goal. But this car is fast. It's nasty. You know, like I said, it's a race car. This is a race car. It's got a Motec in it. It's got a NASCAR road race magnesium cased 4-speed. It has a Winners quick change, independent rear suspension. It's burly and it takes crazy abuse. The only thing is right now, from sitting forever, the bearings in the motor don't want to spin, so we didn't have to go through it. But pretty quickly we could have an insanely fast car to drive around. And I think like it'd be fun to like take it to Formula D and try to go qualify one round or something. But it'd also be fun to like, let's go see how, put some big wings on the front and the back and change the alignment and try to go like real fast on some public roads. That sounds fun to me. And here we have my very first car. This thing started me on whatever this path is, my 1971 Dodge Demon. This is a real 340 Demon. It's a 4-speed car. It's a matching numbers car. I bought this thing when I was 15 years old. I'd worked at a tire shop for 2 years to save up money. I bought it. I've been completely obsessed with cars before and since. I slept in this thing in my parents' garage for like the first week when I had it. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't old enough to drive yet. I might have taken it out once or twice while they were out running errands, unofficially. But it's a cool car. I don't go too nuts with it because essentially that's the original engine. It's been rebuilt recently. It's nice and fresh. It's got a ton of suspension parts on it. It's got like a full QA1 subframe, shocks, coilovers, front and rear. It's got this hidden 6-link in the back. But essentially, it still steers badly. I have the original steering box in it and it's leaking oil like crazy out, I guess, the oil pan. I had to change the pan in it. It hasn't sealed up since. But besides that, if I fix those two things, I would drive this car quite a bit. you know, it's just, I love A-body Dodges. They're such a good size. The Demon is like just such a good look. You know, essentially this is the same as a Duster. The Duster, when it came out in 1970, was like the Duster Valiant, right? So Dodge had the Dart, Plymouth had the Valiant, and then the Duster became a very good selling car. Like immediately, and Dodge was like, oh, we're missing this. So there is no 1970 Demon, but within a year they put together their own package and, you know, had a fastback car like this. And these didn't sell well. Dusters sold awesome. Demons didn't sell well, and here's why. Nobody in the Bible Belt wanted to put their kids in a car called the Demon. It's a little bit too much for them. So they had it called the Demon for 2 years, and after 2 years they started calling it a Dart Sport, which is, you know, much less hell-raising, but still pretty cool. So that's it. This is my 1971 Dodge Demon. If you joined the Scat Pack when you bought this car, you got a cool membership card for your license, or for your wallet. That happened. I don't have the car, but the stickers came on all the cars. It's awesome. They stole this. This is a rally dash. They stole it from like the Barracudas. They go right in. The regular Demons would have like this, you know, flat bar, speedometer and stuff. So it's a real 340 car. It's got all the good stuff. 4 on the floor. It came with a 323 rear gear. That's a 391 now. But yeah, it's just about as cool as it gets. And if you can imagine me, moderately nerdy kid in high school, having this thing was pretty fun. It was pretty great. So that's it for this episode of Stay Tuned. We've dug all the way through our secret bunker full of cars here. I see each one of these cars and it gets me hyped up in a different way. I'm like, everything seems to be 2 to 3 days worth of work away from being awesome, and it makes me nuts. I have crazy ADD. This doesn't help. I'm like, let's work on the Beamer, and like, let's do the Demon. I'm stoked on all of them. Which ones are you guys stoked on? Tell me what you want to see next. I don't know that we'll listen at all, but at least we can talk about it in the comments. All right, if you hung out this long, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.